Elijah Thomas, coming into 1788, he's had a rough decade. In 1776, as we know, he's severely injured in a wartime accident when his musket bursts. He leaves his wartime service with this very severe injury. And as he explains in his affidavit to the New Hampshire Assembly, 1787, it left him in excruciating pain. And so this is a man that it was very difficult existence for him. He had a family to support, and he had moved up to New Durham, as far as you know, I think to get a new start. There was a lot more land up that way. He's, finds work because he can't do manual labor anymore, to a certain degree, because of his injury. He ends up working for the town of New Durham, basically as a tax collector. So this is a man that's very, in a way, dependent on the government, in a way in the 18th century that most people were not. He was dependent on the government for a pension he received because of his injury during the war. This is the beginning of what we would almost call disability, at the very beginning of the U.S. government, even before the Constitution. This is the Articles of Confederation, of course, at this point. And he's also dependent on them for his employment as well. And unfortunately, I think this is where it gets him into not being on always good terms with his neighbors, because he has to play the bad cop. He has to put out announcements in the newspapers in Portsmouth, Dover, so on, that certain people have to pay their taxes, or he has to come collect them. There were so many things that could have gone in his favor. The fact that he was a veteran, the fact that he had been wounded in the war. It's not like he had, deserted from the army. He had done his duty. He had served during, not only in 1776, he had served honorably during the siege of Boston in 1775. So he had a history of serving the American cause. He had worked for the very government that now was not going to give him the benefit of the doubt and was going to kill him. So I can't find any other explanation in my mind of why they would have done it, other than they felt like if they had let him go off, it would have sent a message that they didn't want to send. In a lot of these cases, I think the people came out and said, yeah, good riddance. But it wasn't that way in this case. I think people were very, very sympathetic to him and really, I think, regretted the whole affair. This is a hanging that people didn't want to see happen. People empathized with him. They knew he was a good man, in his own way, that had simply made a very bad decision. Even though the debate rages on, I find that we are in the same moral quandary that the people of Dover were in 1788. That, you know, will killing a man expunge the crime? Will it prevent future crime or not? I mean, nobody can answer those questions. But I do find, looking back at these 18th century cases, it's amazing how little has changed. And I think it speaks to that even though people's clothing, people's way of speaking, even some of our legal procedures have changed, people's consciences don't. And their sense of having a moral compass, those don't change. I think people can look at a case and say, this isn't worthy of the death penalty. Or maybe nothing is, you know. But I do think that looking at these past cases can instruct what we decide to do in the present.